Hi, how are you? Everybody, welcome to my live. We are doing the neon names. So get your names done, guys. Drop your names in the comments, everybody. Hi, what name do you want me to write for you? Everybody, welcome in. Get your neon names done, guys. Gemma in the chat. There you go. All right, who do we have next, guys? Welcome to my live. Next name that we have is everybody welcome in. Drop your names, guys. Hit that subscribe and the like button and get your neon names done. Hi, Ellie. How are you, Ellie? Here you go, Ellie. And then we've got Minji in the chat. Here you go, Minji. Who's the next subscriber, guys? Everybody hit that subscribe button and get your names done. Hi, how are you, everybody? Let's go, guys. You're welcome. Let's go, guys. Everybody, welcome to my live. We are doing the neon names once again. All right, Regan. Here you go, Regan. All right, who do we have next, guys? Everybody, welcome to my live. Let's get started. Welcome in, guys. Drop your names in the comments. We are doing the neon names for you all. So hit that subscribe button, like the live, and let's get started. Who's going to be next, guys? Everybody, welcome to my live. You're starting off with the live. Get your names done, guys. We are doing the neon names. Thank you so much for liking. All right, then we've got is Elena. Thank you so much for liking. Here you go, Elena. How are you doing today? Next, we've got is June. Here you go for June. And then the next person that we have in the chat is Annabelle. Here you go, Annabelle. Thank you so much for liking, guys. All right, let's go, guys. Megan in the chat. Here you go, Megan. Next subscriber that we have is Paul. Welcome back. Then we've got Blake. Welcome back. I'm so glad you guys are back. All right, and then we've got Ellie in the chat. Here you go, Ellie. And then the next subscriber, we've got Layton. How are you? And then the next subscriber, we've got Malashi in the chat. Here you go, Malashi. And then the next subscriber we have is Kayla in the chat. Here you go, Kayla. And then we have is Romy in the chat. Here you go, Romy. And then my next subscriber is Eden in the chat. Here you go, Eden. Thank you so much for liking, Isabella. Here you go. All right, let's go, guys. We are doing the glowing neon names. Mike in the chat. Here you go, Mike. And then next we have is Betsy in the chat. Here you go, Betsy. And then we have is Dylan in the chat. Here you go, Dylan. And then we've got is CJ in the chat. All right, and then we've got is Adriana. And then who's the next subscriber, guys? Avia in the chat. Avia, here you go. And then the next subscriber that we've got is Joy in the chat. All right, and then next line, guys, Parker in the chat. Here you go, Parker. And then the next subscriber that we have is Olivia. Thank you so much. All right, everybody, hit that subscribe button. Just give me 1 second, guys. Just give me 1 second, everybody. All right, let's begin, guys. Henry in the chat. How are you, Henry? And then the next subscriber we've got is Michaela. How are you, Michaela? Thank you for subscribing. And then the next subscriber we've got is Bran in the chat. And then the next subscriber we have is Mo in the chat. And then the next subscriber that we've got is OKM in the chat. And then the next subscriber that we've got is Victor in the chat. And then the next subscriber that we have is, who is that? Welcome in. Mo, I've done your name here. All right, and then the next subscriber is Brantley. Here you go, Brantley. And then the next subscriber is Jace. And then my next subscriber is Elsie in the chat. Here you go, Elsie. And then the next subscriber, we've got Akil in the chat. Here you go, Akil. And then the next subscriber is Manan in the chat. Here you go, Manan. And then the next subscriber we've got is Enzo in the chat. Here you go, Enzo. And then my next subscriber is Carly in the chat. Here you go. And then my next subscriber is Becky in the chat. And then my next subscriber is Amanda in the chat. Here you go, Amanda. Thank you for liking. And then my next subscriber is... Who is that? Welcome in, Tamay. Thank you. And then the next subscriber that we have is Danielle in the chat. Here you go, Daniel. And then my next subscriber is Cash in the chat. And then my next subscriber is Maria in the chat. And then my next subscriber is Megan in the chat. All right, let's go, guys. We are doing the neon names. And then my next subscriber is Anastasia in the chat. And then my next subscriber is Molly in the chat. Thank you for liking. And then my next subscriber is, who is that? Logan in the chat. Hey, go Logan. And then my next subscriber is Angelina. I see you. And then my next subscriber is Janet. Here you go, Janet. And then my next subscriber in the chat is Stephanie. Here you go, Stephanie. And then my next subscriber in the chat is Sorel. Thank you so much for liking. And then my next subscriber is Alice in the chat. Here you go, Alice. And then my next subscriber is Michael. Here you go, Michael. And then my next subscriber is Adi in the chat. Here you go, Adi. And then my next subscriber is Azia in the chat. And then my next subscriber is Lambert in the chat. Here you go, Lambert. And then my next subscriber is Ella Rose in the chat. Here you go, Ella Rose. And then my next subscriber is Aradia in the chat. Thank you. And then my next subscriber in the chat is Ade. Here you go, Ade. And then my next subscriber is Maria in the chat. And then my next subscriber is Gojo. Welcome back. And then my next subscriber in the chat is Langa. And then my next subscriber in the chat is Liam. And then my next subscriber in the chat is Sophia. And then my next subscriber is Ava. And then my next subscriber is Tia in the chat. And then my next subscriber is Melaine. Thank you so much. And then my next subscriber in the chat is Clara. Here you go, Clara. And then my next subscriber is 80. All right, who do we have next, guys? Then we have is Maria. Thank you so much for liking. And then my next subscriber is Uzair in the chat. All right, and my next subscriber is Tarkan in the chat. All right, let's go, guys. I'm not in the chat. Here you go. And then my next subscriber in the chat is Kirky in the chat. Here you go, Kirky. And then we have is Emily in the chat. Thank you so much for liking. And then my next subscriber is Bayanka in the chat. Here you go, Bayanka. And then my next subscriber is Lily in the chat. And then my next subscriber is Drayson in the chat. And then my next subscriber is Cherish in the chat. Thank you, Cherish. And then my next subscriber is Frankie in the chat. Here you go, Frankie. And then my next subscriber is Mary in the chat. Here you go, Mary. And then my next subscriber is Cassan in the chat. Let's get to the next page, everybody. Thank you so much. I love you too. And then my next subscriber in the chat is Gauri in the chat. Here you go. And then my next subscriber in the chat is Shireen. And then my next subscriber in the chat is Ade. And then the next subscriber that I have in the chat is Aleshka. Thank you, Aleshka. Here you go. And the next subscriber that we have is Lady. Is that Layden or Lady? Here you go. All right. Then the next subscriber that we have is Lisa in the chat. Here you go, Lisa. And then the next subscriber that we have is Will in the chat. And then the next subscriber that we have is Ayush. And then the next subscriber that we have is Zain in the chat. And then the next subscriber that we have is Louis in the chat. And then the next subscriber that we have is Jimmy in the chat. And then the next subscriber that we have is Rabia in the chat. All right, who do we have next, guys? Welcome in, guys. Next subscriber is Tegan in the chat. And then we have is Alice. And then the next subscriber that I have is Sophia. And then the next subscriber that I have is McKenna. And then the next subscriber that I have is... Who's gonna be next? Ellie in the chat. Ego Ellie, have a great day. And then the next subscriber, guys. Who's the next subscriber, everybody? Drop your names, guys. We are doing the glowing neon names for you all to get your names done. All right, Anton in the chat. Here you go, Anton. And then we have is Philip in the chat. How are you, Philip? And then the next subscriber is Abdul in the chat. And then the next subscriber that I have is Sierra in the chat. And then the next subscriber that we have is Maja in the chat. Thank you, Maja. And then the next subscriber that we have is Imara in the chat. And then the next subscriber we've got is Aidan in the chat. Here you go, Aidan. And then the next subscriber we have is Eliza in the chat. And then the next subscriber that we've got is Layla. Who's going to be the next subscriber? Riley in the chat. Here you go, Riley. Thank you so much for liking, guys. And then we've got is Maria in the chat. Thank you, Maria. And then the next subscriber we have got is James in the chat. Thank you, James. And then the next subscriber that we have is this with the smileys. Guys, we're starting with the smileys. Aria in the chat. And then the next subscriber we've got is Penelope in the chat. And then the next subscriber we've got is Katie in the chat. And then the next subscriber that we have is Mike in the chat. And then the next subscriber that we have is Ray in the chat. Alright, and then the next subscriber that we have is Noah in the chat. And then the next subscriber we have is Lily in the chat. And then the next subscriber we have is Ruby in the chat. And then the next subscriber we've got is Lennox in the chat. And then the next subscriber that we have is Sarah in the chat. And then the next subscriber we have is Amy in the chat. And then the next subscriber we have is Archie in the chat. Now it's the stars time, guys. All right, let's start. Then we have is George in the chat. Here you go, George. All right, and then the next subscriber we have is Olivia. Happy birthday to you. Have a nice day. Thank you for liking, guys. Then we've got is Harris in the chat. And then we have is Yahya in the chat. And then the next subscriber we have is Sydney in the chat. And then who's the next subscriber, guys? Ray in the chat. Happy birthday, Ray. And then the next subscriber we've got is Kinley in the chat. And then the next subscriber that we have is Logan in the chat. All right, you guys, let's go, guys. Then we've got Emily in the chat. Thank you, Emily. And then the next subscriber that we have is... Who is next, guys? Everybody get your names. Mike. Here you go, Mike. Thank you so much. And then the next subscriber we have is Ben in the chat. And then the next subscriber we have is Kanye in the chat. And then the next subscriber we have is... Alright, then we have is Naira in the chat. And then the next subscriber we have is Jamal in the chat. And then the next subscriber we've got is Logan in the chat. And then the next subscriber we've got is Konada in the chat. And then the next subscriber we've got is Evie in the chat. And then the next subscriber we've got is Bandel in the chat. And then the next subscriber that we have is Ava. Let's get to the next page, everybody. All right. And then the next subscriber that we have is Daha in the chat. And then the next subscriber that we have is Tizeri in the chat. And then the next subscriber we got is Amy in the chat. And then the next subscriber we've got is Hugo in the chat. And then the next subscriber that we have is Will in the chat. All right, and then the next subscriber that we have is, just give me a second. All right, then we have is Eliza in the chat. Thank you, Lisa. And then the next subscriber we have is Dear in the chat. And then the next subscriber that we have is Sophia in the chat. And then the next subscriber we've got is Ellie in the chat. And then the next subscriber that we have is Eliza in the chat. All right, let's go, guys. And then the next subscriber we've got is Jesse in the chat. And then the next subscriber that we've got is Leandra. And then the next subscriber we've got is Adelaide. And then the next subscriber that we've got is Mia in the chat. Thank you so much for liking. And then the next subscriber we've got is Tyler in the chat. Let's go, everybody. Then we have who is that? Emmett in the chat. Here you go, Emmett. And then the next subscriber we've got is Messi. Thank you so much for liking. And then the next subscriber is Mireya in the chat. And then the next subscriber is Messi in the chat. And then the next subscriber is Sunny in the chat. Thank you, Sunny. And then the next subscriber is Dina in the chat. Let's get to the next line, guys. Then we have next is Eddie. Thank you so much for subscribing. All right, and then the next name we've got is Condo. And then the next name we have is Sierra. Thank you. All right, guys, everybody hit that like button, guys. Everybody hit that like button and get your neon names done, guys. All right, just give me a second, guys, and let's begin. All right, let's go, guys. All right, next we have is Isabella. Thank you so much for subscribing. And then we have is Ronaldo in the chat. Here you go, Ronaldo. And then who do we have next, guys? Then we got is Amara in the chat. Thank you, Amara. And then the next subscriber that we have is Daisha. Is that Daisha? All right, here you go, Daisha. And then the next subscriber that we have is Ellie. And then the next subscriber that we have is Layla. Thank you so much for liking. And then my next subscriber in the chat is Luna in the chat. Here you go, Luna. And then the next subscriber we've got is Say chat. Thank you for liking. Hi, Hopper. Thank you so much for liking. Who else has liked, guys? Darcy in the chat. Here you go, Darcy. And then the next subscriber that we have is Cherish in the chat. Let's go, everybody. Hit that like button, guys. And then we've got is Dion in the chat. Thank you, Dion. And then the next subscriber is Bridon in the chat. Thank you, Bridon. And then the next subscriber we have is... Who's going to be next, guys? Amen in the chat. Thank you so much for liking. And then the next subscriber that we have is Joao in the chat. There you go. Next subscriber that we got is Carla. Thank you so much for subscribing. Next subscriber we've got is Turi. Thank you for subscribing. Let's get to the next line, everybody. All right, let's go, guys. Let's go with the green marker now. All right, let's start with the green marker. Neon 1, let's go. Turi, thank you so much for liking. All right, next subscriber, guys. Azwat, thank you. All right, let's go, guys. Hit that like button, guys. All right, Janelle. Thank you, Janelle, for liking. Let's go, everybody. Next we've got is Casey in the chat. Thank you, Casey. And next we've got Joshua in the chat. Thank you, Joshua. Have a great day. And then who has liked and subscribed? Jamie. Thank you, Jamie. And then the next subscriber is Tyler in the chat. Here you go, Tyler. And then the next subscriber is Cinnamon. Welcome back. And then the next subscriber who has liked, guys, Miku in the chat. All right, Miku, let's go, everybody. All right, next subscriber we've got is Casey. Thank you so much for liking. And then the next subscriber is Aria. Thank you so much for liking. And then the next subscriber is Hasher. Thank you so much. Everybody hit that like button. Let's go, everybody. Next we've got is Mia in the chat. And next we have is Bella in the chat. And next we have is Katie in the chat. All right, Katie, here you go. And then the next subscriber that we have is Kyle. Thank you, Kyle. And then the next subscriber that we've got is Max. All right, here you go, Max. And then the next subscriber is Tado. All right, guys, I will go for a break and I'll be back in like 30 minutes. See you all. I love you all. Bye.